Good morning, dear students. In the last video, we are discussing about the habitats. That means where the life is possible in favorable habitats and also life is possible in unfavorable habitats. We have discussed it last class. Today, we are discussing how a habitat is determined. Okay, what are the factors that determines the habitat of an organism? So I told you that habitat means where an organism lives. Simply can say it is the home of an organism. Okay, so habitat is determined by abiotic factors and biotic factors. So what are major abiotic factors? So what are the major abiotic factors that determines the habitat of an organism? A means absence, bio means life. That means abiotic factors means non-living things. So the abiotic factors includes both physical and chemical components. Let us see what are the major abiotic factors means. The major abiotic factors includes temperature, light, water and soil. Then what are the major biotic factors? So biotic factors that determines the habitat of an organism includes predators, pathogens, parasites and competition. Okay, so these are the biotic factors: predators, pathogens, parasites and competition. So these two, both the abiotic and biotic factors are determining the habitat of an organism. So this is one question: what is abiotic factors? And this is another question: what are biotic factors that determine the habitat of an organism? So in abiotic factors, again we can say that there are the physical components and chemical components. Physical means we can say the temperature, light, water and soil comes under the physical components. Then what are the chemical components means? Chemical components includes oxygen, carbon dioxide, mineral composition and pressure of soil and water. So these are the chemical components. So this is not there in the NCERT also, they won't ask. But anyhow, for our knowledge base, you can remember that. So you have to remember the abiotic factors and biotic factors. Now let us see some of the abiotic factors now. Right, we'll see the abiotic factors. The first one is temperature. So temperature, it is the ecologically relevant factor. Right? So temperature is one of the important ecologically relevant factor. What is the meant by, what is temperature? Temperature means it is the measure of intensity of heat. Okay, temperature means it is a measure of intensity of heat. It is called as temperature. Then we see the temperature is same in every place means no. Temperature changes where we can see major variations of the temperature means the major variations we can see on the land when compared to the aquatic medium. Why? Because the land absorbs the more heat and loses the more heat more quickly. Right? So land is absorbing the heat quickly and losing the heat quickly. So we can see the temperature variations on the land when compared to the water. Right. Why the temperature variations on the land occurs? Let us see. Right. So temperature right? So temperature variations are more on the land when compared to the water, right? What are the why temperature variation occurs means temperature variations occurs due to seasonal variations. So I'm using the word seasons, due to latitude and due to altitude, right? So temperature variations occurs due to the seasonal variations and also latitude and also altitude. Okay, temperature decreases gradually when the temperature decreases gradually means when we move from equator to poles, right? So temperature decreases gradually when we are moving from equator to the poles, or we can say the reverse also. Temperature increases gradually when we move from poles to equator. Similarly, temperature decreases gradually when we move from plains to top of the mountain, right? At higher altitude the temperature decreases. Let us see the temperature ranges at different places now, right? Let us see the temperature ranges at different places. Name of the place and temperature range. So polar regions, the temperature is sub-zero level. High altitude, that means on the top of the mountains, sub-zero level. Then hot thermal spring, (100 degrees centigrade), greater than 100 degrees centigrade. Then deep sea hydrothermal vent, it is also more than 100 degrees centigrade. Then, right, so polar regions, the temperature in the polar regions is sub-zero level, and the temperature at higher altitudes is sub-zero level, and in the hot thermal springs it is more than 100 degrees centigrade, and deep sea hydrothermal vents it is also more than 100 degrees centigrade, right? So let us see, the organisms can survive at some places depending upon the temperature. Some organisms can survive at higher temperature and some organisms can survive at low temperature. And also you can use the word here, tropical deserts, right? In tropical deserts also we can go for the temperature will be more. Let us see some of the regions where some organisms particularly grows in the tropical regions, some organisms grows in the temperate regions. That means some organisms can survive in the temperate regions, some organisms can survive in the tropical regions. Let us see some of them. Now let us see that example I am taking of an organism, and it is the right. So if for example I am taking the mango tree. Mango trees can grow in the tropical regions. But mango trees are not found in temperate regions like Canada and Germany. Similarly, snow leopard. Snow leopard is found in Kashmir but cannot be seen in Kerala. Similarly, tuna fishes can be seen in tropical seas. Right. Tuna fishes are mostly caught in the tropical seas, but they are rarely caught beyond tropical water. That means we cannot find the tuna fishes beyond the tropical water. So these are some of the examples where these organisms are surviving in the particular regions. So these, for example, take the mango tree can survive only in the tropical regions but not in the temperate regions. Similarly, if you take the snow leopards are found only in the Kashmir. That means where there is more, the temperature is very less. But it cannot be seen in Kerala where the humidity is very high. Okay, so the organisms can tolerate some areas only. The organisms cannot be seen in other places. Right? We'll go for the next one. Right, we see the next one. Effect of temperature on metabolism. So if you see temperature affects the kinetics of enzymes, which in turn the enzymes affects the metabolism. That means it increases or decreases the metabolic activity of an organism and other physiological functions. So why we are using the word here means if the temperature increases, the enzymatic activity increases. So the metabolic activity increases, right? If the temperature decreases, the enzymatic activity decreases and also the metabolic activity also decreases. So the temperature affects the kinetics of enzymes. Increase in temperature increases the enzymatic activity, which in turn increases the metabolic activity of an organism. Decrease in temperature decreases the enzymatic activity and also the metabolic activity of an organism, which in turn affects the physiological functions of that organisms. Then when the metabolic activity of an organism reaches to its peak level, that means at which temperature the metabolic activity of an organism will be more high. Let us see that one. The temperature of an organism where its metabolic activity is high is called as optimum temperature. So let us imagine that is 45 degrees centigrade. So at 45 degrees centigrade, the metabolic activity of organism reaches to its peak level, right? That temperature is called as optimum level or optimum temperature. Then there is the temperature is very low. That means the minimum temperature at which an organism can survive is called as minimum effective temperature. So that is called as what? Minimum effective temperature. So what is the definition of minimum effective temperature? Means the lowest temperature at which an organism can survive is called as minimum effective temperature. If the temperature decreases less than the minimum effective temperature, then the organism undergoes chill coma. right? It undergoes chill coma. Then the maximum temperature at which an organism can survive is called as maximum effective temperature. Okay, if the temperature goes beyond maximum effective temperature, then the organism undergoes heat coma. So remember that. So minimum effective temperature, maximum effective temperature. So I am discussing minimum effective temperature means the minimum temperature at which an organism can survive. Okay, what is maximum effective temperature means? The maximum temperature at which an organism can survive is called as maximum effective temperature. Now let us see the temperature tolerance of different organisms. Right, let us see temperature tolerance. So what is meant by temperature tolerance? Temperature tolerance means some organisms can survive or can tolerate wide fluctuations in the temperature. And some organisms cannot survive wide fluctuations in the temperature. So there are two types of organisms. One is eurythermal and one is stenothermal. What is meant by eurythermal? Eurythermal means if an organism can survive wide fluctuations of the temperatures. That means sometimes the temperature may reach us to 5 degrees centigrade, sometimes the temperature may reach us to 50 degrees centigrade. Right? If organism is able to survive, that means if the organism is able to tolerate such a wide fluctuations in the temperature, we say that one as eurythermal organism. Let us see the definition now. Organisms which can survive wide fluctuations of temperature. Right? The organisms which can survive wide fluctuations of temperature are called as eurythermal organisms. Examples, let us see. Human beings and birds and desert lizard. Okay, so human beings and birds are homeothermic, and this is poikilothermic. So these are warm-blooded animals. It is the cold-blooded animal, right? This is an exceptional case. You have to remember this one. Sometimes they may ask you which of the following can tolerate wide fluctuations of temperature. A, mammal. B, birds. C, lizard. D, fishes. Right? So if you see that 1, A, B and C, all the three are correct. Okay? So remember this one. This is a very important question. Right? We can expect it. Then what is meant by stenothermal or stenothermal? So it is quite opposite to this one. Organisms which cannot tolerate, or simply we can say the organisms which can tolerate narrow fluctuations in temperature. Right? If the organism is tolerating wide fluctuations in the temperature, let us see. So I'll draw a little bit a small graph here. Here 0 degrees, 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees, 50 degrees, like this. Okay, if an organism is tolerating a wide fluctuations, okay, we'll go for here too. Wide fluctuations of temperature, we call this one as eurythermal. What is stenothermal means? The organism cannot tolerate wide fluctuations. It can tolerate only narrow fluctuations. Right? The organisms can tolerate only 10 degrees to 20 degrees centigrade temperature differences. Then we call this one as stenothermal. This is called as eurythermal. So what is the stenothermal means what? The organisms which can tolerate narrow fluctuations in temperature, or the organisms which cannot tolerate wide fluctuations in temperature is called as stenothermal animals. So what are the examples of stenothermal? Fishes, corals, fishes and corals. That means 99% of the organisms are stenothermal. Remember that. Only 1% of organisms are eurythermal. So they may ask you, the question, what percentage of the organisms are eurythermal, means only 1%. Right? If they ask you that what percentage of the organisms are stenothermal, means 99% of the organisms are stenothermal. Expect the percentage also as one question. Right? So very important one. These are eurythermal and stenothermal for NEET examination. So remember, the examples are very important. Right? Let us go for one more point. That is the Van 't Hoff's rule. Yeah, we'll go for the next one. Van 't Hoff's rule. Van 't Hoff's rule explains the effect of temperature on the rate of reaction. Right? So Van 't Hoff rule is explaining the effect of temperature on the rate of reaction. What does it explain? It explains the rate of reaction doubles for every 10 degrees centigrade rise in temperature. Right? For every 10 degrees rise in temperature. That means the rate of reaction is doubling for every 10 degrees centigrade rise in temperature. It is expressed as Q10. What is Q10? Q10 is called as temperature coefficient. Now, what is the formula to find out Q10 of an enzyme controlled reaction? Q10 equal to rate of reaction at x degree centigrade divided by rate of reaction at x minus 10 degrees centigrade. Right? You can take one example as a problem. The rate of reaction at x degree centigrade is 4200. What is Q10? Right? They're asking to find out the Q10. Q10 equal to, so what is the rate of reaction at x degree centigrade, means it is 4200 divided by rate of reaction at x minus 10 degrees centigrade. So what is the definition I have given here? It explains that the rate of reaction doubles for every 10 degrees centigrade rise in temperature. That means at 30 degrees centigrade it is 4200. So we have to decrease 10 degrees now. That means for every 10 degrees rise in temperature it is becoming double. So what is the formula? Rate of reaction at x minus 10 degrees centigrade. 30 minus 10, that means 20. At 20 degrees centigrade, what is the rate of reaction? Means 4200. Half of the 4200, that is 2100. Okay? 2100. So if you see that equal to 2. So Q10 for an enzyme controlled rate of reaction is always 2. Remember that. Right? So this completes about the Van 't Hoff's rule, and the topic temperature is also over. In the next class, we'll go for the water and light. Okay? Have a nice day. Thank you.